welcome to another edition of Rob Carson's What in the World. I, for one, am quite thankful that our president and his cabinet are okay. Donald Trump returned to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and a madman, no king supporter who gave money to Kamala Harris' campaign and rallied against Trump using the language of Democrats and attempted to storm the ballroom to kill the president. And MS now has no clue about his motivation.
We do not yet know what the shooter's intended target was. Yes, obviously.
Okay, so we don't know what the intended target was.
This was an event that was well publicized that the president would be attending.
And now we know the intended target.
He has not attended this event since 2015.
And there's a reason why that he was the intended target.
But it was a room of over 1,000 people. There were reporters, there were lawmakers.
He might have been there to go after the guy who had the basket with the bread and the tongs, and then he's like, the guy didn't want pumpernickel, and like, how dare you give me pumpernickel? Nobody likes pumpernickel.
Business leaders, there were members of Congress.
Could have been a bartender for all we know. I asked for Chardonnay.
Members of the administration, and yes, of course, they were the President and First Lady Melania Trump, but we do not yet know who specifically was the target.
The alleged gunman Cole Allen wrote a manifesto where he said of the president, "I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor coat my hands with his crimes." All of this verbiage has come from the mouths of Democrats over the past decade, intensifying since Trump was reelected. Democrat J.B. Raskin still acted clueless when asked about it by CNN's Dana Bash.
You have, and as many of your fellow Democrats, have used some heated rhetoric against the president.
Like a fascist, white supremacist, racist.
And do you think twice about that when something like this happens?
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Oh, please!
Talking about some of the fact that he, is terrible for this country and so on and so forth. I understand.
MAGA fascist, enemy of democracy.
That's your democratic right. But overall,
yeah.
Do you
I have
a
no
responsibility?
personal problem with Donald Trump at all.
Then why do you say all of those awful, awful things about him?
I talk about the policies of this administration, the authority.
No, actually, you don't. You also name call.
Authoritarianism, like we saw on display in Minneapolis, where 2 of our citizens were gunned down in the streets simply for exercising.
Yeah, that isn't true. Not one little bit. It's also called a lie.
First Amendment rights. Renee Good, Alex Preddy. And others have,
it's like you can't even try to run over an ICE agent, and what happens?
Died in custody.
He is a cyborg, isn't he? Now we know.
I'm talking about policies. I don't personalize it, and
Sure, it's about policy.
Certainly have never called the press the enemy of the people. I think the press are the people's best.
No, but you've called the president the enemy of the people.
Best friend, and that's why it's written right there into the First Amendment.
Oh,
we need the press to be a vigilant watchdog against every level of government, federal, state, local, all of it.
Yeah, that's like the big bad wolf saying, I don't know what happened to the 3 little pigs, straw and stick houses. I didn't see nothing. The morning of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Ken Martin, the chair of the DNC, actually called Donald Trump a fascist.
There are a lot of things that Republicans seem to be working on.
I always forget if he's Key or Peele.
Whether they're in the judiciary or the White House. Or
regardless, he's hilarious.
Congress or advisors and folks on the ground that are going to make it actually more difficult for you guys.
Yeah, look, we are seeing a desperate man, a narcissist, a fascist in the White House who is so desperate.
Wow, he just called the president a fascist. See, that's not about policy there, Jamie. That's about name-calling.
Desperate to hold on to power. I think over these next 191 days left until the election, we're going to see an unprecedented assault on our elections.
No, actually, we just want to make sure there aren't any dead people or illegals voting.
On voting rights, we've already seen that, right?
Yeah, Democrats have been name-calling and inciting people. It's called stochastic terrorism. It incites crazy people to commit acts of violence. In a statement that aged as well as spoiled milk, CNN's Jake Tapper and 249 of his colleagues said before the event they were going to forcefully demonstrate opposition to Donald Trump. It sounds like a big hug, doesn't it? Voice of America leader Carrie Lake told Newsmax when she saw Jake after the incident, she gave him a little what for.
I will tell you, I'm sorry, but guys, I walked out, and I walked out as a complete, I'm sorry, he's a fool. walking out next to Jake Tapper, and I looked...
Wait. Are you saying the guy that denied Joe Biden's cognitive decline for years until it was obvious at the debate that he hosted, and then after Joe Biden left office and was defeated by Trump, he wrote a book about Joe Biden's cognitive decline is clueless?
At him and I said, how dare you? You have caused so much division in this country, pushing lies. I said, we're not going to call it gaslighting anymore. You've lied to the people. How dare you do that? And I saw so many people from all of these news outlets who've just spread abject lies about President Trump over the years.
Yeah, like the Russia collusion hoax and now the impeachment hoax. And
they're part to blame of this, and I don't mean to get dramatic tonight.
Oh, I think you should be very dramatic, because a third assassination attempt is pretty dramatic.
But I, as an American mother and an American, I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of the fake news that has just spread nothing but lies, trying to hurt this president, trying to go against the American people. And I couldn't sit there silent and walk out next to somebody like a Jake Tapper and act like he's a good guy.
Yeah, Jake apparently got his feelings hurt by being confronted by the truth with Kari Lake. It's hard when rock tossers get rocks thrown back at them.
But this crusade against Kimmel was predictable because the Trump administration's attempt to use Saturday's shooting as justification to stop all critical coverage, whether journalists...
Oh, yeah, it's about ending all critical coverage, which, by the way, is CNN 97% of the time.
...or comedic of Donald Trump. That started even before the ballroom emptied, because Kari Lake, the election denier who's currently in charge of...
Who, by the way, could totally kick your butt, clean up between your shoulders.
Voice of America. She approached a CNN table after the shooting and blamed journalists for the attempted attack and personally insulted one of our correspondents as a, quote, midget, is now being matched with social media posts and more from the White House trying to use this horrific tragedy to demonize any criticism.
No, I'm thinking actually the demonizing of Donald Trump caused the incident, you see.
Calls for violence. And the president has been making literal calls for violence since 2015.
No, he hasn't actually. He's been responding to vitriol and violence against him.
I'm not even going to go into them. You're familiar with them, but...
No, why don't you go ahead and get into them. Tell us the examples exactly, please.
Literal calls for violence. Now, a reminder that the president's tone immediately after the attack on Saturday was praised by Democrats and Republicans.
Which was much bigger than you guys would ever consider being.
And it was far more conciliatory.
I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts and resolving our differences.
This is what being a leader is all about, Jake.
Peacefully. We have to resolve our differences.
That sentiment clearly did not last long.
Some reporters, unlike Jake Tapper, had a bit of a come-to-Jesus moment as the president showed grace and bravery in the face of his third assassination attempt. Even ABC's George Stephanopoulos appeared slack-jawed as John Carl recounted what Trump did later that night.
John, your phone rang early this morning?
Yeah, my phone rang shortly after 7 a.m. My landline, George, actually...
Hold on, landline? That sounds like a news story. When was the last time you heard of somebody who had a landline?
See, a number that few people call, and it was President Trump calling. He said at first he was calling to see if I was okay with what happened.
Well, he's clearly a Nazi and Hitler and white supremacist.
Last night, are you okay? And then he
wants the press murdered.
Reiterated many of the things he said in his press conference last night, emphasizing the unity that he felt in that moment.
Yeah, you might want to take a dose of that unity there, Jake Tapper.
And he said absolutely, and he was quite firm about this, that dinner must be rescheduled. It must be rescheduled.
It's kind of like returning to the campaign trail after Butler.
He knows that I was a former president of the White House Correspondents Association and had worked with him on a dinner that never actually happened back during COVID. And he was saying, we've got to get this dinner back on. It has to happen.
Oh, my God, what a monster Donald Trump is. Norah O'Donnell got to interview the president immediately following, and she showed the grace and class of a Jerry Springer Show panelist while quoting from the attempted assassin's manifesto. And the president, of course, tossed it right back in her face. I like to call this verbal corporal punishment.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it.
Yeah, let me go ahead and just read the screed from the attempted assassin who just tried to kill you.
He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crime.
Why the hell did she need to bring this up, I wonder, just right after the assassination attempt?
What's your reaction
Well,
to that?
I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would.
And now comes the corporal punishment.
Because you're horrible people. Horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
You think he was referring to you?
What the what? What?
I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person.
Crap! Now we know what the C in CBS stands for.
I got associated with...
And the BS.
All stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things.
Boom, Mr. President.